Good morning, everyone. My little granddaughter, Shreya, and myself, we are very happy to welcome you to the third session in the series Stories with Shreya. We are very grateful that so many of you responded so positively and welcomingly to this initiative. The idea is to enable children to minister to children. We often underestimate the abilities of children. That needs to change. Children can do a lot better than what we give them credit for. But above all, what I cherish really is that as compared to adults, children have divine instincts. They're also concerned about the world. The story that Shreya is going to share with you will be an illustration of that point. So, over to Shreya.
My fellow children of the world, I'm happy to share with you a Japanese story about non-violence. Our world is violent and cruel, so we must learn to be kind and loving. The tea master and the nobleman. Long ago in Japan, there lived a tea master. One day he was invited by the king to the palace. As was customary, the tea master dressed as a warrior with a sword dangling from his belt. At the royal palace, the tea master entertained the king and his courtiers with the best tea ceremony they had ever seen. Then he stepped out of the palace to explore the city. He wandered about, enjoying the beautiful sights. As he was returning to the palace, the tea master reached a narrow bridge. Walking towards him on the bridge of another of the king's guests, a nobleman. He seems upset about something, thought the tea master. As the nobleman passed the tea master, he tripped the tea master, who fell to the ground. The tea master knew that it wasn't wise to pick a fight with an angry man. He dusted himself and started walking away. But the nobleman caught his elbow and said, "How dare you push me? I beg to differ. You are the one who pushed, and I was the one who fell." The tea master replied calmly, "Are you accusing me of lying? If you have the cheek to tease me, have the courage to draw your sword and fight me," the nobleman shouted. The tea master tried to tell the nobleman that he had never held a sword in his hands and that he was dressed like a warrior only because he was a guest at the palace. The angry man, however, was in no mood to listen. "Don't make excuses. If you don't accept my challenge and fight me, then I will tell everyone how cowardly you are," threatened the nobleman. The tea master suddenly remembered the sword fighting school he had seen on his walk. "If I can visit the school and learn at least the basics of sword fighting, then I won't have to die in a shameful manner. That will also give me some time. Perhaps the nobleman won't be so angry when I return," the tea master told him. He told the nobleman, "I will fight you since you desire it, but I have something important to finish before that. I promise to meet you here in 2 hours. We can then settle our dispute." The nobleman agreed, and the tea master lost no time in hurrying to the sword fighting school. He explained his problem to the sword master. "Please teach me how to hold a sword properly so that I can die with honor," he pleaded. "I will gladly teach you what you want to learn," said the sword master, "but you must first show me your art." It struck the tea master that this might be his last chance to practice his art. Lovingly and carefully, he assembled the things. needed, brewed the tea, and offered it to the sword master. The sword master watched the tea ceremony with keen interest and then tasted the tea. It was the best he had ever tasted. Bowing to the tea master, he said, I see that you're highly skilled, but already know everything necessary. I can't teach you anything new, but I will give you one piece of advice. When you return to the bridge, approach your enemy as if he was your guest at a tea ceremony. Greet him politely and thank him for waiting for your return. Then take off your jacket, roll it, and place it on the ground. Roll up your sleeves and tie your headband. After you have done that, draw out your sword and hold it above your head. Announce that you are ready to fight. Then close your eyes. When you hear your enemy charging at you, bow your head and lower your sword. Goodbye and good luck. Puzzled by this strange advice, the tea master thanked the sword master and hurried to the bridge. The nobleman was already there. The tea master did exactly as instructed. He greeted the nobleman and thanked him for waiting. He placed his jacket on the ground, rolled up his sleeves, and tied the headband above his head. He took his sword, held it above his head, and announced that he was ready to fight. Then he closed his eyes. 1 minute, 2 minutes. The tea master waited for the nobleman to charge at him. 5 minutes passed, and the tea master opened his eyes. What a surprise! The nobleman was standing before him, but he didn't look angry anymore. The tea master's calmness seemed to have melted the opponent's anger. The nobleman made a quick bow and walked away. The tea master picked up his things and returned to the sword master to thank him. Then he quietly returned to the palace. Thank you.
So, in this story, the nobleman, probably that day he was upset because of something that happened in his private or personal life. He was inclined to be quarrelsome. See, it so happens that when a person is exasperated or carrying some kind of emotional turbulence within himself, he would like to pick a quarrel with somebody or the other just to give vent to his inner frustrations. So that's perhaps what happened this day when the two met at the narrow bridge. The nobleman went out of his way to create a situation of confrontation. In those days, noblemen had training in sword fight because if anyone's honor was questioned, a nobleman was obliged by his sense of honor to defend him and to defeat the enemy. So he had training in sword fight. But this poor tea master had no training in sword fight. He knew only one art, and that's the tea making ceremony. The Japanese tea making ceremony is a beautiful thing in itself. So the advice that he was given by the sword master is something that we need to understand. The sum and substance of the advice is when somebody tries to provoke you, that person is trying to align you to his particular strengths. In this case, the nobleman's strength was his ability to fight with the sword. But that's not the strength of the tea master. So the sword master advises the tea master to stick to his strength, which is tea making, and doing it as a beautiful ceremony. Now, the idea of ceremony is that it helps to contain these explosive emotions and dispositions, and therefore it serves a very important role in public life. So, among the ceremonies that were fashionable or in vogue in Japan, tea making ceremony was and still is one of the most elaborate and most widely appreciated ceremonies. So, when the tea master stuck to his domain of strength, which is to make tea in the most courteous manner. The power of his courtesy prevailed over the cruelty of the nobleman, and he simply did not know how to handle this. This story reminds us, or can remind us, of the strategy of Ahimsa that Mahatma Gandhi practiced. Gandhi did not fight the British on their strengths. He took them on the basis of his own strength, and that is Ahimsa. And therefore, Gandhi became perhaps the best example in the world of overcoming violence with non-violence, cruelty with courtesy. And that is much needed today. In fact, the reason why my granddaughter chose the story and the theme, as she said at the outset, is because children of the world are concerned that our world is becoming more and more cruel. And everywhere, children are the first casualties of the cruelty of the adult world. So it is necessary to reorient the world from cruelty to compassion, from violence to non-violence, from hate to love. And that message, I believe, is beautifully communicated through this Japanese stories. So many of these Japanese stories, Chinese stories, Indian stories, these folk tales are extremely beautiful and meaningful. And there is perhaps no better medium to teach children than these stories. So we are very happy to have been able to share this most contextually relevant story, a story about Ahimsa. That's the resolve that we will renounce violence and stick to the path of loving one another. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.